All right, got it. All right, so hello and welcome. My name is Elæ Moss, and I am the founder and creative director of the operating system. I am based in Brooklyn, New York. Before we continue, I do want to give a land acknowledgement, and then I will give a visual description of myself. So I, Elæ, live and work on the OS and Liminal Lab is based in Lenape-Hookig, the unceded land of the Munsee Lenape and Canarsie peoples. I ask you to join me and the OS and Liminal Lab in acknowledging the Lenape community, their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. I also want to acknowledge that many of the arts and educational institutions with which I work and with which the OS works have been founded upon the exclusions and erasures of many Indigenous peoples, including those here in Lenape-Hookig. This acknowledgement demonstrates a commitment to the process of working to dismantle the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism. And if you are interested for yourself or for any work that you do in using a land acknowledgement from Indigenous groups that have been collectively working on language, you can find a place to do that in the chat. Something that I would ask our guests here tonight to do, because we always like to know this, is just maybe pop into the chat and let us know where you're here from. It's exciting to sort of be able to understand how our network exists here in the Zoom realm. You know, a lot of the OS community is also part of the disability community, as I am. And so it's actually been really exciting to see so many of the accessibility, you know, areas, things that have become accessible this year that we've been asking for so long. And so, you know, a lot of complaining has been happening about the way that things have changed. But for myself and many other people, this has been actually really exciting because I've been able to go to more things than ever. And for the OS, we're able to gather people in our community regardless of physical ability to attend in-person events. So that's been really beautiful. So anyway, as I said before, I am Elæ Moss, and something that we try to do with access at our events is I will give a visual description of myself, as will the other readers tonight. Myself and many other people, this has been actually really Ooh, what's happening? I think that you're getting the YouTube feedback, something, some sort of loop. If someone is on YouTube as well, I turn my volume down, so I don't think it's mine. But so, yeah, so I'm going to give a visual description of myself, and that is for people that might be, you know, either here on the video or using this archival media who do not have sight. So I'm Elæ Moss. I am a white, non-binary person with invisible disabilities. I am wearing a black shirt with small white crosses, a number of sort of chains that are long, and on my neck there are green, red, and striped. I have black tattoos on my shoulders. You can see some on my forearms as well. I'm wearing green glasses and a blue hat that I found on the street from some fishing thing. And behind me there is a black bookshelf, a painting in multiple colors, and a yellow chair, and a white bookshelf. Oh, so many things, and a pride flag, and some other just detritus of my house. And I am so excited to be hosting this evening for you with Mathilda Cullen, Joey De Jesus, and Steven Alvarez, all of whom are part of the 2021 project cohort for the OS and Liminal Lab, all of whose books also have been done using sort of the open design protocol, which we've been developing. It's been a really exciting year. This cohort meets monthly and sort of talks about their projects, and that's been something we've been doing since 2018, is running cohorts. But this has been a really incredible year for cohort, especially with everyone sort of being online, and it's really been an anchor, I think, for the community and for these practitioners, these creative practitioners. And so I don't want to talk too much. I've said enough, but I'm really excited to have these three folks reading tonight. We're gonna start with Steven, who is whose book is out for community use and community order, but whose official date is coming out a little later. But it's also Steven's mother's birthday. And so we sort of arranged that this would happen on that day, that the book would be available on that day. And so happy birthday to Steven's mama. And I'm gonna let the folks introduce themselves, but I am just gonna tell you a little bit about the book. And for this one, I want to actually read the blurb from Raquel Gutierrez, which says that MANHATITLÁN is a citational landscape and the prismatic vernaculars of a self in constant motion. That MANHATITLÁN is the ontological codex we need right now. She writes that this is a generative rupture from the tyranny of fragmentation of identity that instead incites a radical semantic potentiality of simultaneity. I mean, yes, yes. Alvarez creates a new vocabulary of understanding the ways a country is more than just a country, but an ancestral seizure in the everyday life of a New Yorker. He who considers the border, its ellipses, and the lines by which it is crossed. So Steven will tell you a little more about the project and about himself, and I will mute myself and go away. But thank you all for being here.
Well, thanks, Eli. That was great. I mean, it's hard to follow up with Raquel. I think, wow, I should be writing blurbs for Raquel. But anyway, well, thank you so much, y'all, for being here. I have not done this physical or visual description of myself, but I'll do it because it kind of sounds, I mean, it's pretty badass. So I'm a 40-year-old, I guess you would say, well, European, mestizo, Latino, Latinx, Mexican-American. I got a mustache. I'm wearing these big glasses and a cowboy hat, Stetson cowboy hat, like my abuelo. I am in Queens, Jackson Heights, Queens. Behind me, I got a couple guitars and a Mesoamerican mask I bought in Tucson. I got some books back here. I have a teddy bear over there. I'm wearing a black shirt. The shirt says "Life's a Risk, Carnal." For those of you who know the show Blood In, Blood Out. I got two new tattoos. Well, I got one new tattoo, y'all. Check this out. Virgin of Guadalupe, in honor of this book. And then I have this other one called the Xochicoliqui, which is a Mesoamerican design. The one I got on my left arm was because of my father, and I'll tell you a little bit more about my dad. And I'm so happy my mom is here. Happy birthday, mama. And my sister's here too. And then this other one here is, well, that's just the mother. It's from my mom too, and it's for this book. So I'm just going to kind of dive right in. MANHATITLÁN is a sequel to another book I wrote called the Codex Moauticus. And if we got enough time, I might read one of my favorite poems from that book. I'm going to start off here though. This one is called MANHATITLÁN, and the book roves all over the place. It's kind of a fun, weird looking thing. So as I read this, it's going to be a little bit strange, but just kind of bear with me. When I get to the later stuff, it gets a little bit more accessible. All right, excuse me. MANHATITLÁN. Right now, Charlie Chastite is kind of messed, stairs below, Harlem harvest, moon rising red, up, doze, swimming, and Rio Harlem cells, shells. Oh, MANHATITLÁN now, open, Llorona, al de pospongo y pensar y digo, hear words and wind, smooth, sure, viento, el fuel. Pure, let's break, alas, can call for the best of both, and that sore moon, zas, oh, imagine the lives lied and living. Oh, pardon. This Isla MANHATITLÁN lived, did, lied. Oh, Luna knows it well. Oh, stars swallowed multifarious meanings blurred. Oh, when moon melt a ring, oh dear, oh stars, oh galactic pools assess, oh galactic pools assess, oh estrellas, the moon, oh shone down, la luna shone down, MANHATITLÁN glow, MANHATITLÁN glow, oh, sure shone down, oh, sure shone down, oh, sure enough, and she said, soy yo, pero ain't, soy yo, pero ain't, soy yo, soy, yetne. You soy, yetne, and stop it. And stop it. Quit squeezing, quit it. Quit squeezing, quit it. Quit it. That's the first poem. Oh, y'all, this is one of the weirdest books I've written yet. And I write some weird shit. So not to be outdone. This next one, well, I use QQMQ, quiero que me quieras. So I'm just going to read it out like that. And this one is also in the beginning of the book, and it's kind of my little sort of love song to New York City, but specifically Queens, because I love Queens. I love me some Queens. All All right, so this one is titled Hello, Nueva York. 1. Quiero que me quieras. Oye, hear that 7 rumble, retumba, rumba, era de te imaginas horn blast. Scream, shake, hiss, and list metropolis. Claro, yes, those cars colliding to slithering, 7 snake deslizándose. Slivered, silvered, slender, and 7 could be shellfish lips, esbeltos, hair, and language crawling, calling, and La Llorona in our hearts, and rayando coral snakes and 7 eyes, and you in our hearts, harbor boats, and La Guardia and Kennedy aviones, cars on the boulevard northern, and we up above those eyes, lujosos, ojos, from edificios, chances of today's rain, sea breeze, queens unheld, market and cold, de lo rígida huecando, su bambayar corrected, lojos, del poeta ningún método de working, yep, y ahora. No se escribo Charlie de salud, de la necesidad, diga la vida es una train of the poem. Tengo un poco, digo helado, pero es puro oro blanche, casco de carne. Día la noche haga la llama dada del encanto de la gloria, flamelets, inútiles. Ah, indeed. Lido la oscuridad en bleakness, su floración de la porción en Brooklyn, su esfuerzo levantar tarde en su jardín, el roque rendido en los sidewalks, en tallos de maíz, en the cracks. One Che de One Charlie, un chingo en Nueva York. Imagínase slithering de esos ojos serpientes, ocasiones de la lluvia de la brisa, center of the solid core, queens in the morning, dew on the unisphere, dripping the fat drops, then hands nearly fused, yes, Llorona, cried for MANHATITLÁN to enter, gathered thin wits and imagined trucks, so many trucks, pasa el partido diario, and imagine coughing membranic remains of unions, all migraña, Nueva York, araña, like no other rememberings of your Spanglish, quiero que me quieres, reality that you are todos tus lenguas, yes, all your tongues remembering the peaceful of Estaten. Quiero que me quieras, remembering the sorcerers who wrote genius and blissful pulque plugs, who have uglier intents in verse spoken illegibly, graphically, and Los Bronx, a float plane humming up in the tangles of mangled cloud and aching for whispering windless whistles and machinations, queens, yes, corals, snakes, MANHATITLÁN, lapping sugar by the handful, oh, MANHATITLÁN, mercy, mercy, leads here, imagínate tú mismo geminando, quiero que me quieras, flush rose, toilet bowls, and never you mind, MANHATITLÁN. We decided someone in this borough lights a vela for you, probably someone down the avenue. And imagine buried dead, imagine folks holding positions we would never hold, unreached, imagine asphalted whale road. Quiero que me quieres, no way could get better enough to stop loving you, Nueva York. Salute to the boogie, you, Nueva York, says toasting empty air to take this to MANHATITLÁN and die. Flyer commemorating your storied land, your stolen land, blood, by interwoven cardboard, ya, charming chamuco, right tongues crawling, calling, parting with warm cess, foulest, most heinous, you got it, Moco 6, heinous disease. Little mirrors floating on glittering sunshine, quiero que me quieres, listen, MANHATITLÁN says only the fingers aching for plucking, picking, packing tresses behind ears, hearing, heaving, revenging, reneging, arranging, mane, shrinkly, whistling, windless, and waking, unclouded. But thirstier than, satin coil, tired from locking the slithering serpent eyes, choked in skulls like berries, fallen. We had MANHATITLÁN in our sights, in our hearts, claro, chances that we knew nothing high, chances we thought something rare, that we must have slipped between those teeth, survived to deny, whisper, whistles, quiero que me quieres, remember Nueva York, canta Nueva York, songs, quiero que me quieres, NYC, sing canta Nueva York, canta su canción, Nueva York, you can sing that polyphonic lunar song, remember that song, and sing. 2, blood by. And sing and get that irony, la masculinidad ranchera and their music from yesterday, like lightly forgotten to mother and classic hits of yesterwear and true raininess, Wednesday day for your home drive over Derblish Grande Central Railroad, out yonder bouncing a winosphere. And consider all this or some posturing pon Isla del Encanto, what liberties say, spiked and poaching good green greedicks and their tears. And when anyone really regards you, Queen, says La Llorona, 2 fingers up, peace America, holding fire high, take bow and wipe lágrimas for you. So blood by, she says. Then slow near Los Altos de Jackson, porque Cochinex, it's one long desfile de carros down steadfast south, but out yonder glimpse rising from a concrete swamp in, blood by through Rancho Conchitex, Brooklyn, de los Puentes, and blood by, and they're all machetes of grass and bugs as big as marbles, then down, way on down, Isla Estaten and no me chinguen, blood by, and out through some work in the Túnel Estaten, then Abaronando and back to MANHATITLÁN, oh, MANHATITLÁN, an up bent neck, and look, Kipu knots of clouds, another end, cielo ceasing up in hills and round out northward, rock drilled, to cerritos of northward and to Central Park, and then north, blood by, El derecho los Bronx, unable to keep pace with Conejo Malo's bus, yeah, and then way on down way, and blood by. And one damn great desert, blood by, and below Nueva York, deep below what you find is desert, violent, and Violeta, blood by, a zombie who rules the night and feasts on human flesh. Oh, blood by, zombie. And so, go soul and holler for Charlie Tastatea's big man, fearless planet, lonely as sky smile, and big as equator smile, and yeah, violent Violeta, true swoon, curious, crossing down dark alleys until dawn, blood by, in Manhatitlan, blood by, studying writing, then La Llorona found Charlie in his Icelandic home environment, and they strolled down then, blood by, La Llorona, how he dragged himself, chains swung about body, brownly, swagger, made shadows eyes, and blood by, chiseled teeth, chipped from Mexican gods, and how he will sit at home with one ice-cold pulcaso, blood by, in his future, in Nueva York, reminiscing this scene, blood by, Charlie's golden brown years, yeah, buen huevón, y por Dios, blood by on towards this crystal ball frontier, 8.5 APR, so of course, good old gentle cabron Charlie with his books of poems, would-be prophecies, more or less, but really less, in his gringites, sipping greener margaritas outside on plastic garden patios, misting, greasing water at concrete corpo, Mex America numbers, and still then, La Llorona driving blood by further into expansive high horizons between avenues, then down, sleepy rivers, steadfast south past Casa Mañana, Icaca, and cacti down there in Manhatitlan, blood by. Nestled to the calle of the wall, on snug soldiers, copper pipes protruding, blood by, pointed toward stars and universal mysteries, and you might say infinity too. Blood by, and down still some more, down, blood by, and cue Charlie further down, yellow, down to somewhere near, she heard, under the volcano, steadfast, hello, southward, out somewhere, thinks more than likely at under the volcano, that seconded worthly place of no mom and of many desmadres, destinies, first of magnificent and sacred agaves, blood by, and another marcaída, for Gene Rations basking already sucking his distant primo back blindly into vampirish Mexican machismo. But the codex way, the prophecies, pues en humano macho man brujo en el mundo's ojos, for actions, for the segundo fruitful, for Pancho forbidden, he hurtful, for behold, poise hips toward, mighty in his mente huevos, and windows, moonlight slicing both cuerpos. Since maybe saw dunk deep, blood by, and now hero, and esta onda, ain't one partaker, no national nopa, but ought to have at least two for real heroes, certainly with truth articulated artifice, La Llorona, and for each, and whose eyes was simpler blood by, than its parts whose get him into deep mierda, blood by, give us what we want, can eat your house or burn it down. Recall from Codex Mahaudicus, Conquista del Conocimiento, Riqueza, Fuerza, call it what it is. Nawali la Luna, oye, poet licking lips, blood by. La Llorona's tears brimming, her eyes burning into moonlit flamelets. And Malinche says, this all has to go get gone and we'll ring death shortly. Yep, death to blood by. All right, that was all one freaking poem, y'all. I'll do one more. This is one really short one because I feel like I won't take too much time from my colleagues here.
I find myself wishing that the people who were hearing this were seeing what it looks like.
Oh, yeah, I was a little bit late. I did send an email that has the thing to see, but y'all later on, please buy this book.
Do you have it on your screen? Can you screen share any of it? Not while you're reading necessarily, but maybe like when we're done, do you want to just go through a couple of pages and show folks what it looks like?
I'll do one last poem. This was the last poem, that's the dedication, and then I'll definitely do that.
Yeah. You guys, wait till you see what that is. Yeah.
Everybody, well, I'll go back and show some of the weird shit because one of the great things with the operating system is I got to learn how to use some of the design tools that the publishers, the insiders get to see, the suits, as I call them. And so I got to design this book and just like have all kinds of really cool, weird experimentation and learn a lot. So it's been really fun. So the visual thing, a lot of happy accents, just kind of like in my poetry too. But I want to read a dedication. I'm glad my mom is here. So mom, put the computer by dad or Debbie, como quieras, one of you, because this one was for him. My father was sick for a little while. He's doing better, but well, y'all know how this is. 2020 was really shitty. In 2021, ain't doing much better, but for me, it all started like in 2018. It's just been one whirlwind of shit. But I was back in the summer. I got to see my dad and I got to see my family a little bit more in rural Arizona. And so this book is dedicated to all of them, but I'm going to just read it. I wrote it as a poem at the end of this book. Agradecimientos and dedication. I begin with thanks to the OS for believing in this project and the weird shit I write, and to Eli, especially to all my new friends. And thanks for seeing me during dark days, y'all made me feel like a poet again when I hadn't for many years. And now on this day, the 2nd of June, 2021, I sit at the foot of my father's bed at a hospital in Tucson, my mother at his side. He suffered a stroke 2 days ago, and he may not make it. I hadn't seen him over for a year because of the pandemic. I alone in New York City, all my family in Arizona. And after vaccinations and the breaking of new days, I traveled to see them all. And 2 days before this fall of Roberto, I saw him before this fall for 2 full days. We took a walk down Main Street in Safford one morning. He wore a sombrero from Sinaloa. Our reflections in windows as we passed empty stores. Our pace slow, a stray dog followed us for a few blocks. And my father said, if your mom were here, she'd take a picture of that dog with her phone and put it on Facebook. Probably find the owner. Your mom would do that. Indeed, my heifer would never do that. And after that walk, we drove home and he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, it's good to have you back. This one is for you, Jefe Roberto, for you, to you, Papa. And with all the love for Jefe Ana, happy birthday. Second Jefe on command, big sister Debbie, I see you too. Little sister Nancy, biggest bro Tony, big bro Freddie. And for los Alvarez, on both sides of the frontera, because no nopal knows borders, and anyway, fuck all borders. And always for Roberto and all your days, your thanks are here. Robert Carlos Alvarez, rays of light, and the cup palms of my hands directly to you, for you, Papa. And that one's from my dad. And let me see if I can figure out how to do the share screen thing. Thank you all for being here, by the way. That one, I'm glad I didn't cry. Let me see here. I think I know how to do this because, I teach classes where I got to share my screen. So I'm going to do this really quick. And I'm just going to, oh God, sorry about that. I'm going to bring this all the way up to the very beginning. And if you follow me on Instagram, I've been showing little previews with like really cool songs. But as I'm doing this, I'm just going to go through really quick because you got to buy the book, no screenshots. This is the one I read about Blood By, and here's some Under the Volcano action. And I played with a lot of really cool stuff. There's a monster in here somewhere. A lot of it was happy accents. There he is. So you definitely, that one was weird. And so I'm just honored to be a part of the OS and to have these tools to, for somebody like me who didn't go to an MFA and has felt excluded from the publishing industry because I write really weird shit. This has been a place where I've been welcomed and even like encouraged. Yeah, really encouraged to continue my work, and I'm excited about that. And I thank you all. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much. I think it's interesting to try to figure out how to approximate actually being in a public. So I would invite you just for a minute to turn on your, sorry about ringing. I don't know how that happens or how to turn it off. But I would invite you to just turn on your sound for a minute and just give a little shout, a little applause for Steven so that we can hear, hi, Steven, really beautiful. The work is really, there you go.
Excellent. Thank you, Steven.
Thank you, Steven. And thanks for sharing the dedication as well. We're so glad that your family is here. Okay, so we're going to have Mathilda, and I'm so glad that we've been able to work together. Sometimes people come into the OS and I already know them, but as often as not, I actually don't. And it's really interesting the way that this community grows kind of organically. And as soon as Mathilda sent this stuff, I was like, oh yes. So the book that Mathilda will be reading from is VORMORGEN. And oh yes, and Mathilda has a copy that she's showing you right now. And so this is really an incredible project, as all of the sort of operating system unsilenced text projects. It is a dual language in German and English facing page. And this collection aims to collect all of Ernst Toller's poetic works in a single volume, which is in fact the first to appear in nearly a century. So this edition includes Toller's 3 principal poetic works, VORMORGEN, as well as Poems of the Imprisoned and the Book of Swallows, as well as his scattered sorry, there's people joining, his scattered uncollected poems. And Toller, if you have not heard this name before, was a Jewish anarchist working in Munich and was also briefly the president of the Bavarian Soviet Republic, the Muncher Rater Republic, the Munich Workers' Republic. My God, I murdered that German, but which was predominantly organized by poets and playwrights. And so it's often been referred to as the regime of the coffee house anarchists. And so here in our own little group of coffee house anarchists, Mathilda will read for you. And thank you so much, Mathilda.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. Should I do I'll do everything else. I just moved to Buffalo, so I'm currently living on Haudenosaunee land. I'm wearing a red tank top, cami. I've got some makeup on. I'm a white trans girl. I've got euphoria makeup, or that's what someone the other day called it. So I'm gonna read some poems from VORMORGEN. I'm very grateful to Irene Zano of the Ernst Toller Gesellschaft in Germany for providing me with the rest of his texts that I could get. I actually have, she sent me this as a gift. She sent me the first printing of VORMORGEN in Germany in 1924. This was the first book, or no, it wasn't the first book to put out. This actually might have been 1929, 1924. But yeah, like Eli said, Ernst Toller was a Jewish anarchist in Bavaria. And he has largely been known for his plays. They've been mainly what's translated. And a couple of people here and there have translated some of his stuff, like mainly on blogs and whatnot, but it hasn't been anthologized in a long time. And so in nearly 100 years, I've been given the opportunity to do it. I'm really grateful. So I'm gonna read a couple poems scattered throughout the book. I'm gonna read the German and then the English. Yeah, so I'll start with a book with a poem from his first collection, which is the Poems of the Imprisoned. And I'll read the German first. Ein Gefangener reicht dem Tod die Hand. Erst hörte man den Schrei der armen Kreatur, dann pullten Flüche durch die aufgescheuchten Gänge, Sirenen singen die Alarmgesänge, in allen Zellen ticht die Totenuhr. Was trieb dich, Freund, dem Tod die Hand zu reichen? Was Wimmern der Gepeitschten, die geschluchzten Hungerklagen? Die Jahre, die wie Leichenratten unseren Leib zernagen. Die ruhelose Schritte, die zu unseren Häuptern schleichen. Trieb dich der stumme Hohn der leidverwilzten Wände, der wie ein Nachtmar unsere Brust bedrückt. Wir wissen's nicht. Wir wissen nur, dass Menschenhände einander wehe tun. Dass keine Hilfsbrücke überbrückt die Ströme, ich und du. Dass wir den Weg verlieren im Dunkel dieses Hauses. Dass wir frieren. And the English is, a prisoner reaches a hand toward death. First, you hear the cry of that poor creature. Then curses rumble through frightened halls. Sirens sing the alarm, and the death watch ticks in every cell. What drove you, friend, to reach a hand toward death? Whimpers of the whipped, swallowed pangs of hunger, the years gnawing at our body like rats to a corpse, the restless footsteps that slink into our heads. Were you driven by the mute mockery of grief-ridden walls that push on our chests like a nightmare? We don't know. We only know that human hands harm one another, that no bridge straddles the rivers I and you, that we lose the way in the dark of this house, that we are cold. Then I will do, and this is called Song of Solitude, Lied der Einsamkeit. Sie würgte meine Seele Kathedralen, sie schäumte mich wie brannend Meer, der Gosse sperrt sich wie eine Wehr, und wie ein Wald beschützt sie meine Qualen. In ihr fühle ich die süße abendliche Stille. Auf leeren Stunden blüht sie maienliches Feld. Ihr Schoß gebiert das Wunder der geahnten Wald. Ein Stählenschwert steilt sich metallene Wille. Sie schmiegt sich meinem Leib wie schlanke Frauenhände. In meiner Sehnsucht hält sie alle Märchenpracht. Ein sanftes Schwingen wird sie hingeträumte Nacht. Durch ihre Morgen lodern Brände. Sie sprengen Tore schwerer Alltagszelle. Einstürzen Räume, aufwächst einzige Helle. Song of Solitude. It curves cathedrals round my soul. It froths around me like the surging sea. The gutter locks it in like a dam and, like a forest, contains my agonies. In her, I can feel the sweetness of the evening silence. On the empty hours, she blooms in the May field. Her womb births a wonder to the fearing world. A steel sword plunges its metallic will. It clings to my body like a slender woman's hands. In my yearning, she pearls all the glory of fairy tales. A gentle sway, and she becomes dreamlike night. But her mornings, blazing fires, breaking open the heavy cell gates, an icy brightness emerges from collapsing rooms. And something interesting about Poems of the Imprisoned is that there are a couple different manuscripts of it that exist. So when he published it as a standalone, the poems appeared one way, which is how they appear in the beginning of the book. But then when he published it in a later collection, Vormorgen, they have some edits. So like when he says, the forest, contain them like agonies, to contain my agonies, he later changes it to like a border. So I will move on a bit. What's the next one I've got? Walk of the Convicts. This is again still in Poems of the Imprisoned. So this is Spaziergang der Sträflinge, and it's dedicated to a comrade of his who was executed during the revolution. Dem Andenken des erschossenen Kameraden Wohlmuth, München. Sie schleppen ihre Zellen mit im stumpfen Blicken und stolpern, lichten bunter Pilger in Quadrat. Couldn't remember how to say that, Quadrat. Proleten, die im Steinverlies erstichten. Proleten, die ein Paragraph zertrat. Im Eck der Wärter träg und tückisch lauern, von Sträuchern, halb verkümmert, rinnt ein trübes Licht und kriecht empor am Panzer starre Mauern, betastet schlaffe Körper und zerbricht. Vom Tore starb der Stallgewimmel, am Unrathaufen wird im Frühling Grünes sprießen, denkt einer, endet mühsam die gewohnte Runde, verweilt und blinzelt matt zum Himmel, eröffnet sich wie bläulich-rote Wunde, die brennt und will sich nimmer schließen. Walk of the Convicts. To the memory of Comrade Wohlmuth, executed in Munich. They love themselves with bold looks and stumble, light-worshipping pilgrims in the square, proles who were smothered in stone dungeons, proles who trampled a paragraph. In the corner, the watchmen lurk, lazy and treacherous. From the bushes, half-withered, leaks adult light and creeps up the shells of numb walls, touches shattered bodies and breaks. The crowd died before the gates of the city. One of them thinks, in a spring, green will sprout from this trash. The usual patrol ends arduously, lingers, and blinks feebly at the sky. He opens like a bluish red wound that burns and never wants to shut. And I think I've got like two or three more. And one thing I really like about kind of the progression of Ernst's work is that the image of the paragraph is something that he is critiquing throughout most of it, specifically in the Book of Swallows. The Book of Swallows was written, as was most of his poetry, during his stay at Niederschönenfeld prison after the putsch fell. And he kind of, uses the paragraph as a metaphor for the way that the guards of the prison would kind of inscribe the prisoners and, give them numbers and, put them into these lists and categorize them. And so when he says, proles who trample the paragraph, that's like the first movement of that. And then the second one is later in the book, and then there's another one. But yeah, I will read some of his earlier poetry. This is when he was fighting in World War I. Ernst was a Jewish anarchist. And so kind of as a young youth in Bavaria, he really wanted to belong to the German folk. And, the whole of his kind of like oeuvre really is him grappling with that question, especially as he saw the rise of anti-Semitism in Germany and, the Nazi party. Like, he was on Goebbels' like #1 public enemy at one point, public enemy #1, just because of how popular his plays were. Okay, I will read Morning. Morgen. Feldküchen. Fahre schlafhockend, knarren in Morgen hinein, der schwer die Nacht verschlungenen Glieder löst. In seinem Strahlenhauch wiegt sich der buchige Zweig, Licht getaucht, atmet der Himmel, Blaudunst verhüllt den Mondsäck, Nebelfetzen, Trauerfahnen, über Schützengräben, Menschenleiber, verstümmelte Menschenleiber, Sonne steigt empor. Morning. Field kitchens, drivers curled asleep, creaking into morning, the weight of night-twisted limbs undone. In its glowing breath, the beech branches sway, light-drenched greets the sky. A blue haze clouds Montsec. The fog is shredded by flags of mourning, human bodies strewn over trenches, mutilated corpses. Sun rises up. And next I will read Concert, which is one of my favorite poems of his. Konzert. And this can be the last poem, I think. Konzert. Marmorpfeiler gischten zu kristallenen Säulen. Decke wölbt sich zum bestirnten Firmament. Vom Sturz der Töne überflutet. Versinkt Parkett. Getäfel flackern brennt. Menschen kleben Nacht auf Strohgeflechten. Gischter fließen, leuchten fernem Traum. In fruchtbeschwerten Augen kreist Gebären. Geschicke brodeln hüllenlos im Raum. Concert. Marble columns pour up, splay into crystal ceiling. A stellar firmament. The plunge of notes overflows, floods the parquetry. The wainscoting burns, flickering. People are glued naked to straw, faces melting, light like a distant dream. Birth circles round fruit-laden eyes. Fate seeds, homeless in space. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mathilda. And maybe everyone will, give a little bit of applause. I love all the little emojis. Thank you so much, Mathilda. That was so beautiful. I have been doing my best to get everything into the chat. It's not letting me upload stuff, so I'm having to do it however I can. So you've got sort of the English. I turned off briefly I'll put it back on. But I turned the transcript off while Mathilda was going back and forth with the German because it's really, really inaccurate. In general, Zoom transcripts or automatic transcripts are pretty bad for poetry. I left it on for Steven because I actually thought that the experimental text of Steven's, there's something about like the transcript would kind of is an experimental text for Stevens. It felt kind of appropriate. Oh, Tony, I feel like that's like something you did a million years ago with all those. Tony did this project with like Google translations where it went like back and forth through all these different languages on Google. That was great. Like a million years ago.
You need to see that for like another project.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. This feel like I actually sometimes I think that what Zoom thinks you're saying is kind of another, you know, it's an algorithmic sort of poetics of its own. And it made sense for Steven. But I turned it off for Mathilda. That's just to say you've got two different links to two of the poems that Steven read, which has some of the visuals there in the chat there. And above that, you've got at least the transcripts for the English text that Mathilda read. So if you need that or you want to go back and look at it, it's there. I've also been putting the links to order. And the only one that's up on the open access library right now is Mathilda's. And so you can find the full German and English text there. And obviously, we offer those sort of as a Creative Commons thing like library. But if you can buy it or give a donation, we'd love that, of course. But without further ado, we're going to have Joey now. And Zay and I have been working on this project for so long. And so I'm mostly going to let them tell you about what HOAX is and all the things that HOAX is. We're in the process of developing sort of the various parts of the HOAX project right now, the non-book part. So that's really what we're working on, and sort of like I'm bringing my product design stuff to bear. So we're in the process of that, but maybe we'll tell you a little bit about that after Joey reads actually. But I will just say that, you know, HOAX is a conceptual body of poetry, a tome of disparate but interwoven lyric fragments, sigils, concrete poems, incantations, evocations, and objects. In theory, it includes a number of different parts of this project. It is a poetic chronicle of identity disrepair, erased from a popular how-to guide in Black magic. The piece forms together a series of incantations centered on anti-queer, anti-Black formulations in the source text, and features vectorized samples of over 200 pages of encoded erasure. Some of the parts are HOAX spells, HOAX scroll, HOAX deck, and HOAX map. And wait until you see this box set that you're going to be able to order so soon. We are going to literally blow your minds. Okay, that's it. Joey is going to introduce themselves and then is going to blow your mind with some of HOAX.
Hello. I feel all it's so amazing to see everyone and be with everyone, and I'm extremely grateful to be.
Dearest, you're cutting out a little bit, so when you do, I will let you know. Is that happening for other people or just for me? All right, yeah, so Joey, your internet is, oh, I actually there paused. Hopefully it will come back on. I know on Zoom, sometimes we lose Joey. So we'll see. Maybe if you're still here, Joey, why don't you go into the chat? Don't know what to do. Don't know what to do. Just filling time. Well, while we wait to see if Joey comes back on, what terrible timing. I mean, this is what we deal with now, right? I'm gonna put, oh, totally gone. Hopefully we'll come back. So I'm gonna put into the drive, Joey sent over a file. So I'm gonna share that with you now. And you'll have that for.
Oh my God. Oh my, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I just, of course, it would disconnect as soon as I'm supposed to begin.
You and I have
if
this.
I hear
reality, yeah.
Of course.
I know.
that doesn't throw me. I'm gonna take the camera off and share screen so that you can see maybe some of the chaos that we're working with. Of course it would happen. We're like gonna summon some shit.
Of course, this happens with me and Angel Dominguez as well. It always like does some weird energetic shit. Like shuts off the camera.
It's either that or Verizon's trying to prevent me from, I don't know, because I've had this issue a long time, right? So, I remember when I was running. So let me just say, yeah, I'm Joey DeJesus. I live in Queens. I love Queens, Steven. Queens. Lenape Hoking, Canarsie Land. I live in Wood, the 38th Assembly District, where I ran for New York State Assembly and tied an 11-year incumbent, despite being outspent by 2 candidates by $500,000 on an abolitionist campaign. And my campaign was premised upon the notion that poetry belongs in the people. So I just want to share that. I'm very, 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 just to share that, I appreciate the operating system for recognizing that poetry isn't just something that exists on the page, but that it's something that we share, and that's why I'm really grateful to be together, us all tonight or this morning, depending on where you are. I don't know, some of you, Anton, I don't know where you are now. It's been a long time. Yeah, I have like this sort of cuckoo cuckoo. So let's
I also have the reading. It's the reading thing that you sent me. So if you have any trouble, I can always share it on my screen. So just let me know if you need me to do that, because it might be less.
It's all right. It's all right. Because I after hearing the reading, that thing where it's like you want to change what you're doing. I mean, the readings before, like I'm so honored to be in this cohort. Steven and Mathilda, amazing work. Their readings, I'm like, I don't know if I want to read the same thing from that, but I'll share the screen and see what happens. We'll let you know, like we're gonna gab the time away. So this part of this is like the map. I think of it as a game board. Eli and I are discussing it as a sort of game board. There are 108 segments and 108 corresponding poems. And my hope is that people will engage with it as a divination object. So maybe you have a planchette, a special blessed planchette, or the deck of cards, you can pull cards, or you can throw your special stones on the board and then read the poems that way. So I'm gonna read a couple poems based on the location. We've just moved into Western esotericism, like we're Virgo after Leo. So I'm gonna read a few of those poems. And then maybe from this, who knows? Okay. And I want to use the equipment because I haven't had the opportunity to do this for a really long time. I fall from a white horse. This is CoCap. I fall from a white horse and see a sky ending in the deep red lion helmeted god. His thighs are the movement of fiery flame. He is a bird and the sun. The law of its wield, the broadsword razor of his ride, burning nova. I, small mates, the canopy of his shoulders, curse my size in the alphabet of deckers. He enters me. It is a cloud, it is the sound of clouds, it is a black horse, a blue-eyed horse, of horse, two-horse soul eater, the shadow of wild horse in the wheat grass, cocklebur loud. I'm dressed in my victory yell. I must save my nation. In the conception of triumph, I latch onto his image like none other. Spoke yesterday, rhetoric. In the absence of language, I hear something I've been, and I am neither intimidated nor afraid. We're gonna skip that one. For time, the nebula. When skyline shakes lice from its mane, there's no cajoling golden wings that brush the undersides of clouds. Presume an honor and room for error. Burn apothecaries, rose, and Solomon's seal, a delicate business stitching stems, misfortune muscles through dusk, abrades through exhaustion, and scotch brew meadow sweet in the heart's moment of panic. Be dexterous as once you were not. Taste words to vault, to power, lionize, soon laurel and creeping thyme will shoot you through regardless. You will be open, airborne, relished, bled, as heat takes its turn at writing. When sky lion shakes lice from its mane, there's no cajoling golden wings that brush the undersides of clouds. Presume an oscillating sphere and room for error. Burn apothecary, rose and salt. Algebra. As the day dims, salvation's criteria triumph, the sky crowded with breath, clouded by light, fireworks make poor supplement for the stars. Only the cockiest of the ox-hearted, inured to explosions in the air, survive, awesome as any biblically accurate angel. We laughed over spilled liquids in fridge space while our roof splintered. We were splitting oxygen over cock and tails, entertaining restless specters who'd risked all the fines they farmed of the living. Cryptocurrencies of burned kapok, flax, wild sumac, platters of food left to liquors, smokes, lion's tail incarnation to ransack the planet red. If the poem gives me agency, right, that in the next life I might recognize our sameness, learning the water multiplicity of everlasting life. Water multiplicity of everlasting life. Me life. What is agency? Right, that in the next life I might recognize our sameness, learning the water multiplicity of everlasting life. If the poem gives me life, what is agency? Right, that in the next life I might recognize our sameness. Study, learning the water multiplicity, everlasting life. If the poem gives me life, I guard the confidence I've gained of the poor, explore ground the extraordinary oral leak of difficult metaphors, foretaste of heaven, smiling tiger comes in dreams, laughing Larawet. Anoint 3 cups rose water, attracting my light. 3 cups drive away spiders. Welcome the giraffe rider, in whose hand snaps the scorpion, who rules a tumor and gossips, bites the tumbleweed and flute flower baptismal sponsor. Share in this blood wine a topical camphor with which to lather talons, soak feet before setting out for Hyrax king. I'm just gonna read this one like this. This is in Virgo. I wanted to live constellate a decolonized sky, but the witch's charm chalks what's above in surveillance. As we fall from trees, men squeeze at our throats with nicest to orgy. Will the frogs cry fog that we may don our bandoliers and disappear into steady rains? Material gains. We flee like eels from dogs that would tear at our bowels. Extending the ganglion quilt, the conqueror must never. We evade to a smiling, spangled danger that finds refuge in the reefs. An estrangement I know with reticent clairvoyance. A pluvial loss, a fist bump with what's up and reconciliation, a distance traveled in courage. I'm not gonna read this one. I'm gonna read this one. So this is the scroll. Let's get this back. Bring it back. Yeah, Thousand miles on a swine's back. Labor 1,000 miles on a swine's back. It must burn. You will feel the fire tattooing Phil's. Again to the king of whispers, you and the stone shelter, spell out their names, percuss the body with voices, as sure as the night is chain stitched or cane liquor. Again to the gate of whispers, you and your sister, the stone shelter, spell out their names, percuss the body with voices, as sure as the night is chain stitched or cane liquor. Someone pulls at the root of your hair. A land of feathers. You see the sun only in sleep. You wear a veil that is a cloud. Step into your elder, drawing thunder from the sky. A light, a flaming light. It's brief fidelity when morning Stoller interval. Light is chain stitched or cane liquor. The sovereign accustomed to slaughter, trapping spirits with that class. You are broken with longing, brackish with language and frack water. The only salad. That's it. I think that's it. Let's end there. Thank you. I'm all sweaty, hot, liquid. Thank you.
Wow, yo, that was unbelievable. Do you want to show anything else from your screen before we unshare? Do you want to show any of the other visuals, some of the more, the visual poems?
We have it like the font. I'm not, you're gonna have to tune in to the next reading.
All right, that's fair.
For that
That's
data,
fair.
for
Yeah.
that material.
Yeah, that's
'cause
true.
I'll show this. I mean, the whole of this. This is the scroll.
Yeah, show the scroll. You
The
want to
scroll
tell folks
is-
like about the symbology a little bit, like about the derivation of how you got to where you are?
I was experimenting in palimpsesting and then text handwriting, and have been experimenting a lot with I need to like shake it off. Wait a minute. I've been experimenting a lot with graphic with techniques using using InDesign and Illustrator and figuring out ways of transcribing. I've been very interested in scanning my handwriting, handwritten
Yeah.
text, and what's lost, and then how these programs sort of manage to understand or interpret them. Like all of the text has been vectorized, which is to say that I drew this all by hand and then had it ran it through these computer algorithms to calculate the means like of each visual image to produce an image that doesn't warp under duress so this is like it's like really topology or questions of topology and text and how we engage with or how computers and the things that we've been pulling at me from back here. So I don't have the language for it right now. But I have this practice that I've worked on for several years. And what you're seeing is all handwritten, and then the handwriting
Well, right now we're still seeing
has been.
We're not seeing that. We're not seeing the scroll. We're seeing still the last poem that you were on, because that's the. You didn't change.
Wait, really?
You didn't change Windows.
Oh no!
Yeah, just change Windows for us.
All right. I have to. Oh, I moved. Oh shit. Well, I was in the zone.
Unview and view again. I mean, we can see. We are seeing the text from the
Gotcha.
reading. We're just not seeing
All right,
the
this
scroll.
this one.
Yeah.
All right. Where's my drink? So this is what I'm
There
talking
it
about
is.
with regard to
That's
like
what I wanted. Yeah.
palimpsesting and the sort of technical side of or how do you preserve one's handwriting, visually? How can we like preserve it in a way that's not just, I mean, it's serious. It's like serious. How do we preserve one's handwriting? I think there's something special to it. And, you take an image of you take a picture of your handwritten text, whatever notes, you bring it into a file. It'll become very, what's it called? What's the word? Pixelated and deformed. So how can we like keep the handwriting? How can we like keep sort of copy or record our handwriting in ways that can sustain duress or stress? So I've been vectorizing my handwriting to do that. and kind of vectorizing as a specific process, visual components of the writing are a mean reduced of the visual. And so what you're seeing here is the means. So the text here was too small to come across. However, not elsewhere. So this is what I was reading from towards the end. Labor 1,000 miles on a swine's back. But it's all in my vectorized handwriting. And then I guess I can give you like a sneak peek. The deck is not finished. We're still working on it. But it's a game. It's a hoax.
It's a game.
It's a hoax. And yet it's not, it's a book of magic. If you believe
So right
in
now,
the magic,
if you go to the link that we included, that is just for the book, but within the next couple of weeks, hopefully or so, we'll be able, because we're sort of prototyping all of the other components, and so we can't share them with you quite yet, but so you can pre-order the book, but in the next couple of weeks we'll have prototypes, and so we'll be able to shoot the whole box set, and you'll be able to see the box set and order the whole box set ahead of time. But basically there will be a box. The scroll that you're seeing will be a accordion. And then and there'll be a deck of cards, as well as sort of like a fold out version of the map, right? Which is like the cover of the book as well. Which I think you saw before.
can you believe it?
Yeah, it's a lot, but it's here also.
Who does such a thing? Who, right? Like what press would ever?
Me.
Truly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an amazing, I'm just so grateful. I could
show them the crazy thing. So this is Joey's map, right? But I'm going to show them the light language stuff. So I also do asemic writing.
Yes, your book is
and
amazing.
so I do asemic writing. And so as soon as I saw Joey's map, I was doing these for years and years and years before I even knew Joey. But so this is my asemic writing, and there's actually a lot of people who do this, and we kind of come up with the same exact symbols. There's a whole thing about them being light languages, whatever. So we're channeling the same, extra stuff, which is why we're on Zoom and we literally break the internet. So there we are. Anyway, I'm so glad that these three readers were here. I think all of these projects are really radical in different ways. Oh, wait, we have to do a Joey applause, a Joey appreciation moment. Yes. I mean, there's lots of appreciation for Joey in the chat. It's been just like, Joey, this is insane. This is amazing. More rain sticks and reading, which I totally agree with. So, before we went, I wanted, I think people have asked a couple questions in the chat. Actually, there's a technical question about what your distortion mic is. The funny thing, I think, is kind of like you were saying, Joey, about the sort of distortion that we deal with when we're working with digital models, with sort of translating the non-digital to the digital, right? The analog to the digital, and there's some loss. I think that you and I also, as someone who works across platforms, and then I think what happened with the sound too, some of that was happening because of Zoom cutting out, right? But there's a certain extent to which I think Joey is someone that plays with these things on purpose. And it's part of what the OS tries to do too, in terms of going back and forth from digital to analog. So I would just say, if anyone here who isn't, one of the readers has a question for one of the readers, and then if not, maybe we'll talk to you a little bit sort of about our process of design and how that, is affecting these works and what we've all been kind of doing together. Oh yeah, so Vidu, I don't know if you see, but in the chat, Joey just let you know what they use for voice distorter. I also use the Boss Loop Station, and that's great. It's really good for doing loops on the fly. and laying audio over. So anyway, yeah, any questions, any comments, any sort of thoughts from the other people that did not read? No pressure. Also, just general appreciation is always fine. Yeah. Thank you for being here. We had like 26 people at a point. I don't know what happened. We scared them, or their internet cut out. Who knows? It's fine.
Great work, great performances. You know, really happy to have been able to hear it. So thank you. Thanks to all the performers, all the readers.
Yeah. I'm really excited to be, you know, putting these all in the archive as well. Thank you for being here, Anton. Yeah, so I mean, I guess I was gonna say, you know, oh, Tony, were you gonna say something?
Yes, I was going to say it's wonderful to hear such a great creative range of material. It's I agree with you, Eli. Zoom is priceless in this time, and it's really a godsend. And I wanted to thank you and all the readers and everyone who is here for just being present. It's such a special thing to be able to hear this on a Thursday night.
Who even knows? What night is it anyway? Yeah, thank you for being here, Tony. Yeah, I mean, I guess I was just gonna say, you know, and Steven talked about this a little bit, but over the last couple of years, we've been sort of open sourcing, or I've been open sourcing a lot of the sort of training that I do with individual people, and sort of the processes that we sort of embark on together when you're doing an OS project. And, you know, Tony could actually tell you, like, from the very beginning, the first OS books that we had a charrette, which is something from design. We sat for 2 days for like 8 hours a day and, like, you know, went over what it means to design a thing. You know, it wasn't like someone gave me something and I designed it. From the very beginning, it was about kind of like, what does it mean to make a book? And like, let's talk about what a book feels like and how that is, right? And so that's all stuff that comes from my background, just like as an architect and designer and someone who doesn't come from poetry in that way. And I've been trying to figure out how to kind of open source that. And so now that's gone from sort of a series of protocols that people go through to actually being sort of like a set of training materials and videos and whatever. And so this group is really the first group that almost everyone has done their own design or participated in their own design. And all three of these folks too have been using, I'm going to put it in the chat, have been using fonts from, or we've been sort of together using fonts from Velvetyne. And I want to just share that because it's an open source font foundry. It's based in France, but it's young, often designers of color, you know, and a lot of the fonts that folks use are often have like really problematic sort of imperial patriarchal like lineages and are really, and you're almost never getting designers of color, you're almost never getting contemporary designers. And these also have been created open source in the same, they're freeware, libreware, like as the OS is. And so we've been moving almost exclusively to using Velvetyne fonts, especially in our title typography and so forth. And so everybody worked with Velvetyne in this group. And the fonts from the inside, the interior of Steven's kind of codex, really incredible page work, it's all from Velvetyne as well. So I invite everyone to kind of go and use that resource. Yeah, so just wanted to kind of share that with you. And I guess I would say also that that these resources now are actually in the OS Open Access library. And so like if you want to go and make your own stuff, that stuff is there for you. It's not only for people at the OS, and we'll continue to be doing that stuff through Liminal Lab as well. All three of these readers actually taught through Liminal Lab. Mathilda ran her first workshop ever. How was that? It was a translation workshop. It was huge. It was really super popular.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was called Tearing the Translation Curtain, Homophonics and Heteroglossia. One of my like primary research interests is like the history of homophonic translation, which is or just like radical, random, kind of strange translation theories. So like, yeah, like David Melnick's translation of the Iliad, Men and Aida, which is like listening to the Greek and then producing English based on those sounds. So, you know, it's kind of a formal translation less than a content translation. And it produces really crazy stuff. I had a member of the workshop who like, we weren't even like producing poems. It was kind of more discussion, but they came in and they like, you know, were like, oh, I'm gonna read this poem that like, I've been working on translating it. And then, you know, I decided I needed to like work on it in a different way to like break through some of the sonic aspects of it. And it was incredible. It was so cool. I had like a classicist in there who like, you know, was giving us crazy tidbits on like Greek and Roman translation. It was wonderful. I'm really grateful for that opportunity.
Yeah, and Steven did a photo voice poetics workshop.
Yeah, it was really fun. Streaming from my parents' house, all the shit was going on, so it was really fun. And we only had about 4 people, but it was great for me because I'm a professor, so usually I teach writing stuff, and so this was summer, but I don't usually teach creative writing, especially poetry. I've always been discouraged from writing poetry in academia because of weird shit I write. Although now they let me teach stuff, which is kind of funny. Anyway, so this is really fun, and I got to make some new buddies, and then we got to use some techniques about using photography and ways to think about, well, methodologies for teaching writing using photography. That's more important for me. So these are also like people who teach writing as well. And the best way to become a writer, y'all, for me is like to teach writing. And if you're passionate about teaching writing, it comes across and you will reach so many writers who will remember you for that person who's like, gave me exercises, and the one who's like made me love writing. Like, cause you know how it is. We love to write when we learn how to write our names when we're really young, around 4th grade, we start to hate writing. Well, a lot of us, but bring that love back is a challenge. So that's something I always work on.
Yeah. Yeah, and Joey taught an amazing workshop, and I think it's going to teach again. Yeah.
Yes, although I'm still so like I've been. It was the workshop was I think to sum it all up, abolitionist cosmopoetics.
Yeah.
And I can hear every time I click mic on and I start speaking, the computer starts slowing down. Yeah, but it was amazing. So I wanted to do it again, but I've been thinking a lot about propaganda and what we're doing in publishing's relationship to propaganda. Campaign that was largely propaganda, and that's how I carried it. That's how I was able to compete against the money. Whisper network. So a Whisper campaign, really, in the beginning. Yes, so I still haven't figured out all the, I've been trying to finish this freaking book. I've been working on it for 11 years. So 11 years, you know, it's like, it's a long fucking time. But yeah, I'm excited to teach in the fall. We're gonna, maybe winter. But I'm excited because I have a lot of, you know, I'm thinking a lot about W.E.B. Du Bois's short story, The Comet, which if you haven't read it, I really recommend reading it. 100 years ago, W.E.B. Du Bois anticipates some sort of plague wiping out all of New York. It's a comet. It's a comet. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal work. So I've been, and it starts in this place in darkness, and I just, I'm thinking a lot about this text and cosmopoetics and abolitionist cosmopoetics, and so maybe that's the direction it'll go, but maybe it'll go in the propaganda, thinking about propaganda and politics and activism.
Oh no.
So, but yes.
We lost your audio, but baby. But
oh no.
Here's a PDF of the comment.
I'll either go cosmopoetic.
We can't hear you anymore. I don't know why.
Oh shit.
They're just like, we're gonna type. You hear them? Wait. Is it just me?
I could hear.
Talk again. Joey, speak.
Cosmopoetics or
Oh,
poetry and
okay.
propaganda.
My internet's going out. Never mind.
It's probably mine. I can hear my computer. It's like
Mine too.
chugging.
Mine too.
I'm gonna shut up now.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I mean, I think, you know, all of these poets and artists and, you know, makers really represent like a willingness to engage across all of these different sort of experimental practices. And I think, you know, that's really the direction that the OS has been going in a really long time. That's really what was the foundation of the OS. And I think over the last couple of years, it's become more and more important to me to make sure that people aren't just coming in and sort of like utilizing the OS as a platform to get things that are needed within sort of the culture of consumerism and sort of validation that we all are maybe unfortunately enveloped in. But I think, you know, there's a way to kind of like go through more radical practice as kind of a performative thing that helps you actually achieve success in other parts. And, you know, everyone who's kind of doing stuff with the OS now, I think is really, you know, dedicated to, like Mathilda is involved in other radical, you know, radical anarchist poetry and publishing on their own, you know, on her own. And that's part of why, you know, we really align as well. And Joey is doing this politically. And so I think you're going to see that more and more, right? It's really a cross-platform thing because it's not performative. It's not an art project about radicalism. It is actual radicalism with the belief that we need to break the systems apart. Like, it's not a joke. Like, I'm actually trying to build this because I think academia is dead. And I don't think this is what's going to come. I don't think in the next 20 years, like, we're going to be looking at something very different and we need new systems. And so that's what we're trying to do, right? And so, you know, I had people this summer, you know, our workshops, funny, Stevens was small. We've had workshops with anywhere from 4 to like 60 people. And a lot of people also use them asynchronously, which has been really beautiful. And so everyone's been recording their stuff. We're in the process of making like this bigger OS open source library too, that will be searchable and have all the audio and video stuff. And that will keep happening. So, you know, folks on the call, you want to get involved, you want to do stuff, and, you know, people listening later, hello, come be part. We're doing our thing. We'll be here when everything falls apart because we didn't build any of this on any of that. So we don't need it. Surprise. If you don't use any of those tools, then when they fall apart, you're still there. Amazing that. Any last thoughts from anybody? This was so incredible. I like need to go back and watch it again because I was like taking documentation while it was happening.
This was really wonderful. Thank you all.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity to, you know, plug in the equipment and see everybody's beautiful faces and join everyone. It's so awesome. And I'm really appreciative. Thank you, everyone.
Really beautiful.
Badass. Both
so much.
I'm so honored to do with both of you. You're both a badass. Damn.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Yes.
I'm gonna turn off the recording now.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good. I'm gonna go listen to some country music at my local bar.